And all right. And we are recording. All right. I just want to thank Tracy Ragan for joining us today on the DevOps Online Meetup. So we're going to talk a little bit about her track, CI/CD, that's going to be coming up for the DevOps Online Summit. It's going to be starting next April 26th through the 30th. So Tracy, why don't you just start us off? Just, I think a lot of people in the DevOps space know who you are, but just kind of introduce yourself and we can talk a little bit about your track and people can share their questions.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I'm Tracy Ragan. I'm the CEO of DeployHub. I am also the community director for Ortelius, which is our open source core that is now officially part of the Continuous Delivery Foundation, which is pretty exciting. That happened last week. And what we're doing is basically we're adding automated configuration management to the CD pipeline to track microservices to logical applications and track what is often referred to as a microservice blast radius. So you put it out there, what's it impacting? How is it connected? What's the difference between this microservice running in this cluster and the same one over there? Is there a different version? So that's what we're up to. I'm also part of the DevOps Institute, which I love being a part of. It's a fabulous group. I'm an ambassador for them, and I'm on the board of the CD Foundation.
Excellent, excellent. So you're involved in a lot of things. I know I've seen you sharing a lot about the Ortelius launch on social media, so that's really exciting. You guys, I think, have been working on that for a while, correct?
Yes, it's been several years that we've been building the community and building the product, and taking it to a place where I felt it was ready to really be part of the broader continuous delivery conversation, in particular around this whole topic of cloud native.
Yes. Now, also, you mentioned a couple other things. Now, I want to make sure everybody knows about you're, I think, an ambassador too with the cloud, or excuse me, with the Continuous Deployment Foundation, right?
The CD Foundation.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. So talk to us a little bit about that, because I think that's one of the things, like you mentioned, it was one of those things I didn't know a lot about it, and I've been in the space for a while. So talk to us a little bit about that too.
Yeah, so the CD Foundation is part of the Linux Foundation. So a few years back, a woman by the name of Tracy Miranda came to me and said, "Hey, I know you worked on the Eclipse Foundation, you helped start it. We are thinking about putting together a new open source foundation called the Continuous Delivery Foundation, of which Jenkins, Spinnaker, and Tecton would be some of the founding projects." And I was all about that because this is a timely discussion. We've been doing continuous integration, check in, compile, copy something out to a server, execute a test, and that's what we would call a workflow for quite some time. And we haven't been disrupted. Now we have been. The cloud native disrupts that logic, that very authoritarian, imperative kind of workflow process. So this is the time now for DevOps professionals to start putting their heads together and sort out, how do we solve this problem when we're talking about DevOps at a much bigger scale? And that's really what the CD Foundation's about, is pulling together people who are CD professionals, who really understand the life cycle and the challenges, and want to, be the thought leaders and help our community at large figure this problem out.
Excellent. Now, Tracy, you are track chair for the CI/CD track, which kind of dovetails nicely into that conversation. Talk to us about a little bit about what you're looking for as people think about, and we're going to get the call for speakers out here pretty soon. What kind of topics and ideas and maybe some of the issues you kind of could see on that.
Well, first, Tom, I have to say thank you for inviting me to do that. Really, it's an honor. I think what you do with this DevOps Online, how you structure it, is really fun. I found last year there was a lot of really good conversation after the talks, it being, in the way that you host it. So it's exactly what I want to be involved in, because it's about getting community to start talking about solving problems. It's about community getting together and saying, hey, this is the challenges that we're facing. You know, how is everybody, how is somebody else solving it? What are the tools out there? You know, vendors love to talk to people, and oftentimes we like to shut the door on them because there's just so many people talking about tools, right?
Yeah.
And tools aren't always the solution, but there are some really interesting new tools coming out on the market that people should learn about. And this is a learning experience. So in terms of the track, I really want to emphasize right now is I think in 2021, 2022 will be a time of turmoil for everybody who's built a Jenkins pipeline and hope that they would never have to touch it. It is going to change. Microservice is going to change the way you think.
Mhm.
So there are two different areas that I'd like to see talks from. First of all, let's just back off of the cloud native and let's just talk about continuous delivery and what it is. Continuous delivery is an ecosystem. It's an amazing ecosystem too that includes testing tools, and it includes security scanning tools, and it includes package managing tools, and it includes configuration management tools, and it includes release automation tools. So I would love to be able to have, as part of this track, the full ecosystem represented. So if you have a background or experience in any of the disciplines that is called by the CD tool, not just the orchestration, but the pieces and parts that make an orchestration tool important, right? If we didn't have deployment tools and release tools and security scanning tools and package management tools, we wouldn't need an orchestration tool. And so orchestration like Jenkins is just the highest level. I want to be able to drive down and really represent the full ecosystem. Secondly, I'd like to see some talks from people who have experience and background and what I'm talking about in terms of a microservice a pipeline or a cloud native pipeline. There are differences in how we do monolithic and how we're going to do microservices. And getting that information out to the community at large is important. I talk to people all the time, and a big shop right now who's really pushing microservices is about 90 microservices. If you think about where we're going, if you think about a Netflix or a Facebook or an Amazon, that we're talking 5,000 microservices.
Wow.
Everybody's going to be like the big players eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to start thinking about how that pipeline changes. So I'd love to hear from some people who have started working on it, even if it's been a struggle, because failing is when we fail, we learn how not to do something, I remember Michael Jordan once said, somebody asked if he got frustrated when he misses a basket because he never did, right? And he said, no, I just learned how not to do. I just learned what I shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Which is just as important as learning what you should do, because you don't know what you shouldn't do until you've tried it. So failure projects are important too. There's no shame in it. It just means that you're exploring and you're going through a learning process. I'd like to see those too, because we don't see that enough. We always see this as perfect and how we succeeded in this, but I would love to see this is what we did. I'd like to hear some conversations on the difference between a poly repo and a mono repo when it comes to microservices. Are you breaking up your repo so each one has its own, each microservice has its own repo? What does that look like?
Yeah.
I would love to hear something about mono repos. How are you managing labels and tags inside of Git in order to track this stuff?
Mm-hmm.
What are the challenges of that? It would even be interesting to be quite honest, to hear from people who are from a DBA sector. How do database administrators see their role in the CD pipeline?
Yeah.
And as we move to changing things very, very quickly, how do they see their job changing? So any of those areas are areas that would be of great interest. And I also want to say, ladies, please apply. Please, we need more women front and center on these conversations. I know you're out there. I've spoken to you. Come and submit to talk. You will do fine. And I know some women have never done it before, and I would encourage anybody who has a story to tell and is a woman, please apply.
Yeah. Along with that, Tracy, I just want to point out there is a group called Women in DevOps, and we are, nothing's official yet. We've been discussing with them. They might have a panel. we might have a track. We're not sure, but just want to put that plug in for them because that's a good group out there too. And hopefully they'll be able to be part of the DevOps Online Summit.
You gotta introduce me to those ladies.
I can do that. I can make an introduction, Tracy. Definitely.
That would be great because I'm surprised how many women are in this field. How we ended up in this field, I don't know, but there's two fields that I see women in tech. It's either DBAs or women in DevOps. There's a lot of site reliability engineers. There's a lot of Jenkins administrators. There's quite a few of us, and I'd love to meet some of my peeps, to be quite honest.
Yep. Excellent. Well, speaking of our people here, we do have Vinod and Nitin on here as well. Do you guys, if you have any questions for Tracy about the maybe the CI/CD track discussion or maybe something else, feel free to chime in and share.
Hi, Nitin.
Hey, Tracy. Hey, Tom. Hey, Vinod.
Hello.
Hi. I just like joined so that like I can know what all things are going on with CI/CD track. I mean, Tracy just knows me kind of well, and I mean, I'm on Tracy's this one timeline on itself, so it's like it's not a problem for me to join Tracy's talks, and also it's wonderful hearing Tracy talking about all DevOps and all things. So, what's the main agenda, Tracy? So, like I guess you guys are going to have a talk for a DevOps Summit. So, is there anything?
And we're looking
for particularly.
And we're looking for people to share in their experience or take a topic, like, for example, a topic like the difference between a poly repo and a mono repo in the GitHub world. There are many topics around Kubernetes and cloud native that impact the CD pipeline that we would like to see. So anything in that area that you might have some expertise, or this is a really good way to learn too. You can take a topic because there's so much new stuff out there. It's hard to say, let's go find an expert on Tecton, for example. They're out there, but there's not a lot of them. So if anybody wants to take on a particular topic, take on understanding event-based CI/CD, maybe a presentation around Tecton and Kepton and event catalogs. Any of that fits really well in the cloud native kind of area. So there's two tracks of, the ecosystem of CI/CD and what's trending in CI/CD. And the ecosystem today and where we're going, it looks pretty different.
Okay, and so you're kind of recruiting other folks also to join you guys to deliver presentations.
Yes. So I'm going to be running the track. So there's going to be a CFP going out shortly, and this presentation is just to really talk about the kinds of talks that we'd like to include to make that CI/CD track special.
Okay, that sounds good. Other thing I just wanted to ask, I was just curious to know. So I mean, this all CI/CD revolves around like software life cycles and deliveries and automating stuff. There is also something trending these days, which is related to MLOps, which is machine learning operations, something like that from start to end. I don't know. There are so many tools also, guys.
So it's interesting that's a good question because it's all about workflows.
Okay.
And machine learning workflows, even though they're workflows, I mean, job scheduling is job scheduling, right? They're applied in a different way.
Okay.
So the CD Foundation has an MLOps SIG for that reason. So it's about workflow management and how workflow management is starting to change. So in the beginning, most of our workflow management tools were very serial and very, and I call it imperative. That workflow was the final say of how that was going to run. But now, even with MLOps and the idea of a workflow is changing to something that's more, I would call it circular, or is you have a control plane and you have events that you can call, and instead of calling one event at a time, you could call several events, and this is part of the MLOps. And the CD Foundation has an MLOps working group, and maybe what I should do is get Tracy Miranda to come and open up up our CI/CD talk and just go through the CD Foundation and let everybody know the different working groups that the CD Foundation is pursuing.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Sounds like a
that's
good
great.
idea.
Yeah.
I'm sure she would do that for us.
So this DevOps Tech is on what dates?
It's in April.
Yeah, April
April.
26th through the 30th.
So you have
Oh,
plenty
okay.
of time to study up and come up with a topic, study up, and present it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's great. So is there something like, for example, just taking a hypothetical example, so I'm like just learning and coming up with a full life cycle flow and like, giving kind of a workshop kind of a thing for an hour or so and showing all the
I
things
would say, yeah, that's a good question. I think that most presentations, I think if you go over 40 minutes, it's going to be hard.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
An hour presentation is too much for us to consume. We're not that kind of a community anymore. I think 30 minutes is great, and that gives plenty of time for questions. And you could do it any way you wanted. You could do a presentation on a particular open source tool or a particular tool that you have found to solve some problems. Again, I come from a vendor background, so even though we don't want vendor pitches, if you have found something that really has solved a problem for you, we need to share it.
Okay, got it. So, and obviously, before whosoever wants to participate and want to show the things that they want to, so you will be giving the OK stamp, right? Whether that
I will be. I'll be looking through,
okay.
and Tom will be telling me how many I get to select, and I'll go and curate as much as I can, and we will figure out who is best to present.
Okay, and I guess for that a deadline should be by end of March or maybe
no, it'll be sooner. It'll be sooner. So when's the CFP coming out, Tom, and when will the deadline be?
The CFP should be coming out in a few days. So we're hoping to have it here soon, before the end of the year. And then we'll probably give about approximately probably at least a month or a little more, maybe mid-February, we'll have the end of the call for speakers. And then Tracy will be able to select for her track. And then what we do is we pre-record some of the content for the summit, and then we'll have additional things like this, like live Q&As, discussions. For instance, like last year, I know we had some lean coffees as well, for people who can join. Maybe you have a certain topic, we'll bring in, and we also have a Slack channel too, where we have people like, if say for instance, hypothetically, Nitin, you present, we would ask you to come on the Slack channel, maybe answer some questions too when your session, because we'll have a pre-recorded session, and then we'll also, like I said, we'll have some Q&A things as well. So just kind of it's building in that interactivity, but also too, we try to pre-record some of the stuff too, from the simple fact of and this is kind of it's kind of been a weird situation here we're in now, where people aren't traveling, but if potentially with work and to with time frames, we try to make it so people all over the world can be part of it. That's one of the things too. It's it's not just US time zone based. We have some things at different time zones as well.
It's actually a lot of fun. It's a very kind of organic, it feels very it's a very community driven summit. That's I think that's why I like it. There isn't a single it's not one company that's hosting it and talking a lot about what their product is and their direction. It really is a come together of minds, and it ends up being a very interesting summit to attend. Lots of chatter on Slack.
Exactly. Yeah.
So do you guys have any kind of bundle up things over the topics basically, where like students can or like people can just check out and try to get an idea, okay, these are all the areas where we can do that, or it's like just general CI/CD, whatever you feel
for this track, you have two choices: something from the landscape, security scanning, testing, package management, configuration management, release automation, which is deployments, or you can do something that's pivoting to cloud native, where it's a discussion on what a CI/CD pipeline needs to look like to support a microservice. How do you manage Kubernetes infrastructure with a CI/CD pipeline? So there's topics in that area that you could choose from as well.
Okay, sounds good.
And if
Yeah.
you want me to assign you something, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, being fairly new to this, yeah, I mean, a bunch of ideas would be good to just explore and research like what all things are going on right now in the market.
Sure.
And
I
yeah,
will I will reach out to you through LinkedIn and give you an assignment.
Sure. Sure.
You're glad you joined, right, Nitin? You were looking for homework.
Nitin is one of our shining examples of what we can produce out of New Mexico. He is getting his master's degree in computer science from the University of New Mexico.
Awesome. Awesome. Very good. Very good.
Vinod, do you have any questions for me?
You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, I have 6 minutes, so I'll just chime in. So I'm from Bayer, the healthcare company, and I work on life sciences healthcare part of things. And right now I'm in pharmacovigilance, and I'm one of the directors for data maintenance for FDA. So how I got into this loop is I'm DevOps certified and Agile. I have many certifications to my to my portfolio, I would say. Speaking around the let's say presentation, right? I'm just hearing these things on the CI/CD and those Kubernetes and those things. So the expectation is you want 30 minutes narration of what we are successful or what we have learned out of a project, right? That is your expectation, and
that would be great, including any failures you have. You can't just say the successes.
Yeah, I hear the fail safe scenario.
Yes.
I was listening, but parallel multitasking. But anyway, so the other thing is, so is there a template format in which you expect the presentation to be there, or?
Not at all.
Okay.
No, there's no strict format. However you want to present it is completely up to you.
And it's going to be virtual, right? It's not going to.
Yes.
Okay. Because early this year, where there was DevOps Days, I was one of the volunteer for that in New York City. So yeah, I'm part of the DevOps meetups and.
Yeah, so we'll just, Tom will arrange with you to record your session, and then he'll schedule it, and you will need to be there for answering questions, though. You will want to be there for answering questions live.
Got you. Yep. I just summed up whatever my thoughts are.
Yep.
And you can reach me at Tracy at DeployHub.com. No E's in the first name, just TRACY at DeployHub.com.
I can pull you in LinkedIn right away.
Yes. And if you have any questions, just reach out. And as soon as the CF, just watch for the CFP. Yep. And I can send the CFP out to the meetup group that I announced this through. Okay.
I'm just sending you a connection request. Good.
Yeah, Vinod, it'll just be kind of an interview. We do this real organically. Tracy can ask questions, and or you can walk through a topic. So that's kind of like the beauty of the track chairs. She can kind of make this her own little mini conference within itself.
Yep. So that's more interactive and more organic, I would say, right? We can easily interact. Okay, makes sense.
Exactly.
Yep. I don't have much on this. Basically, we are trying an RPA solution or robotic process automation solution in a DevOps way. So I'm working on some things with that. So yeah.
Anything that's automation and DevOps at scale will be very interesting talk to hear.
Yeah.
That is the challenge facing us. I mean, we're going to go from pushing an application out the door that maybe we got excited if we could do it daily to microservices all day long.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yes. All right, Tracy, I think we're almost to our little time box here. I appreciate you so much coming on and of course being part of the summit. Any closing thoughts?
No, just even if you've never presented before, take a chance, because I know in having to curate talks in the past that some of our best talks are from people who have never done it before. If you've never done it before, go for it.
Exactly. Exactly. We always are looking for something new, right, Tracy?
Yep, absolutely.
Excellent. All right. Well, appreciate everyone joining us. Be watching out. We do have a few other tracks, and we will have similar discussions coming up. But so appreciate all of your time, and we'll be talking to you later. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Happy holidays. And
Yes.
Yes.
Stay safe.